Good morning. Yesterday I had you guys take sketch notes on the two videos on color. What is color and how do we see color? Hopefully you learned a lot of interesting information about color. Obviously this is a painting class, but not all of you have paint right now. But it is still a class about color. So color is what we learn about when we learn how to paint. And today we're going to start experimenting with color by making me a color wheel. But first, some vocabulary. So when we talk about color, there are three main components of color. Those three main components of color are hue, value, and intensity. Hue just means color. It is a synonym for the word color. So this is purple. Purple is its hue. I can change a color or change a hue by mixing more than one color together. So for instance, if I mix yellow and blue together, I make green. I am changing that color's hue. The next component of color is value. And value has to do with the lightness or darkness of a color. So if I grab a couple of color crayons here and they're all blue, this is a lighter value, this is kind of a medium value, and this is a darker value, light to dark. So that is value with color. And I change a color's value by adding white to make it lighter or black to make it darker. The next and final component of color is something called intensity. And a color's intensity has to do with how brilliant or how dull it is. So if we look at three color crayons, this one is the most brilliant, this one is just sort of a normal intensity, and this one is dull. And we change a color's intensity by adding a complementary color. We will talk about intensity more next week. Today we're going to focus on hue and changing a color's value, or changing a color's color by making a color wheel. So the first step in making a color wheel is I need to make a circle. And the way I made a circle was I traced a lid for my kitchen. This was actually from my breakfast yesterday morning, and I saved it because I knew that it was a nice circle. You can use a bowl in your kitchen, a lid of something, anything that will cause you to be able to draw a nice circle. Next, you're going to divide that circle into 12 sections. The easiest way to do that is first to divide in half, and then in half the other directions. You can see I'm using, this is actually a scrap of cardboard. So if you don't have a ruler, that is one way to make it work. And then in the inside those quarters, you are going to divide each of these into thirds. So I'm using my finger as a pointer and my pencil as a pointer. I'm going to make a mark in each place. And then I'm going to draw a line across the circle for both things. There are step-by-step instructions on a doc in today's assignment. You're then going to label the colors all the way around the color wheel, just so you make sure that you get the colors in the right place. Now, if you happen to have paint, I want you, or colored pencils, I want you to just use these three colors. And it doesn't matter what kind of paint you have, whether it's watercolors like mine here, or if you have poster paint, or acrylics. I want you to use red, yellow, and blue only, and I want you to mix the colors together to make the colors you need. So you can see here I'm taking some yellow and I'm moving it out here, and then I'm gonna grab a little bit of red. I need to make a yellow orange, and so right here a tiny corner of red added into my yellow makes a yellow orange color. So you can see I'm going to paint that yellow orange section right over the top, and ta-da. And I can do that, like I said, whatever kind of paint you have, mix and change the colors yourself. You can do the same thing with colored pencils. So if I want to make a yellow-green, for instance, I can use my colored pencil really, really lightly with the blue to start with. And then I can add my yellow over the top. And you will see that as I layer those colors, I'm going to need a few more layers. A few more layers until they get fully vibrant. And because it's on this brown paper, the colored pencil might not get super vibrant, but you can kind of see there that I'm changing the color by layering the colors together. So if you have colored pencils layer really, really well. If you have only markers, you're going to have to experiment. If you layer your blue and your yellow together, do you make green? I don't know that you will. So then you're just going to have to use the colors that you have to make a color wheel. And the same is true for color crayons. Some color crayons will mix and blend over the top of each other. Some will not. So you're going to have to kind of experiment in your sketchbook and see if your color supply blends to change color. If it doesn't blend to change color, that's fine. I still want you to make a color wheel. Now, if I am in a spot where I don't have a color supply, I still need to make a color wheel. And what I'm going to do is find objects in my home that have the colors that I need for my color wheel. So here is yellow. Here is some like yellow green, and then we'll move into green. So you can see I can arrange my objects into a circle and make a color wheel out of things instead of out of paint, and the overall effect will be the same. It did take me a while to hunt this stuff up. And so you will have another treasure hunt today if you don't have a colorful art supply to use for this activity. But you can see that you can still make a color wheel out of objects that you find at your house. One last thing. If by chance in your kitchen you have food coloring. Food coloring can be used just like watercolor paint. So I can take this food coloring. I can take, this is just from a takeout container. I just put 2 drips of blue paint on this takeout container. And now if I add some water, actually it's going to take quite a bit of water, you can see that I'm going to make paint. So there's my blue food coloring. I should be able to use the 3 colors of food coloring, red, yellow, and blue, and mix and use them just like watercolors. So that is kind of a trick. If you don't have any paint, but you do happen to have food coloring in your kitchen, that will work as your paint supply today. But there are lots of options. Uploading a photo of your color wheel is your attendance assignment today. There is also a set of instructions on the Google Classroom that goes through the steps and tells you the color in order in a Google Doc. Happy creating!